Hey, deserving listeners, Love is Blind, Season 4, Reunion, live, Netflix. Let's watch.
As soon as I hear, like, your voice, I'm instantly, like, comfortable.
I love that.
I'm instantly, like, this big Josh, you feel me? Like, me and him, like, we for real dogging, like.
I mean, you said it, not me.
I love our connection. I think our connection is, like, very strong. And, like, you're so easy to talk to.
Okay, we didn't see this in the original season, to my memory anyway. So this is certainly fleshing out that connection.
You're funny as shit. Like, our energies are, like, on 10 when we both come in here. Like, I love our connection, like, for real.
And I could see the two of them being much more compatible in their vibes than Jackie and Marshall, for sure. So it sounds like Jackie felt that, and she said as much, that when she met Marshall, though, she figured that Marshall would be a healthier choice, but ultimately not someone that she had that comfortability, that familiarity with, which is fine. It's also possible that there's something problematic going on there, meaning that she has been through a lot of difficulties and thus is not comfortable with non-difficulty. I know that hypothesis is out there, or at least some people are very convinced of it. We can't know. We don't know anything. At least I don't know if we know anything about the real relationship between her and Josh. Josh could be the sort of guy who exhibits a lot of red flags of things that don't actually happen in real life. He was very intoxicated, seemingly, at the birthday party for Chelsea. It doesn't justify it, doesn't make it okay. Doesn't mean that there's not a problem there, but I don't know. I'm guessing there's just a lot of voids in our knowledge.
So is it a problem that I'm not, like, I know your other guy. He's very, like, romantic and touchy, like, not touchy-feely, but just, like, I'm not, like...
I'm not soft?
Yeah, I'm not crying. I'm not, like, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Maybe you're...
Okay. I mean, this is in line with things we've seen before. This is more explicit, and we're seeing now that there was this very explicit conversation, and of course for Marshall, he didn't even know that Josh and Jackie were a thing, seemingly. It sounds like Josh is trying to hold back judgment. He wants to put him down. He wants to, in a toxic masculine way, label him as a woman or not a real man, or so. I don't know. I'm putting words in his mouth, so he's not saying that directly, but I don't know, it has that feel to it. And of course, his behavior later on seemingly supports that idea. And we're hearing Jackie, I guess, kind of agree.
Feely, but just, like, I'm not, like...
I'm not soft?
Yeah, I'm not crying. I'm not, like, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Maybe you're just too hard, man. We're both scared.
Yeah.
And I think with time, we just have to learn how to give ourselves grace.
Well, that's great. That's very healthy that she would say that moment of, instead of we're hard and we're better, or this is just how things are, or this is the way we need to be, it's we might be afraid to be vulnerable, to cry. And maybe sometimes we need to allow ourselves to be that way. Yeah, it's very healthy.
Hard, long process. This is a long road, and it's about personal growth too, you know?
Yeah, but I do want you to know that I really do care about you.
I care about you too.
And I really enjoy, like I enjoy every moment with you.
I don't know if they edited that, but the way it was edited, he basically just kind of blows off what she was saying there instead of, at the very least, acknowledging it, which I don't know if that says anything about Josh.
Hey, I'm not just saying that just to say it.
No, I feel the same.
With us, it's just not forced. So,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
It comes natural.
Yeah.
Like poop. We're like poop.
Okay, let's not go there.
I mean,
like poop.
Everybody does it.
Everybody does poop.
I mean, you know me, I appreciate a good poop reference, so.
So I have grown within the last year. That person that I've seen was a totally different Jackie.
Okay, promising, not defensive at first. Often I'll hear this. We heard this from Irina and I think Micah. And of course, we can't expect people to grow in such a short amount of time. But let's see if we see any evidence that there's been growth in the way that we would hope for her sake.
I will like to clear up some things, if that is fine with you. I'm not
Absolutely.
sure. Okay. So I broke up with Marshall before I saw Josh at the college.
Right. So this is her claim. Maybe she'll have some data. As I said in an earlier video reviewing the data, it's possible because there are so many abrupt edits that you could easily, I mean, maybe not easily, but you could conceivably take a much larger conversation and Frankenstein it together to make it appear the way they wanted it to appear.
And we fought about it, and he left for 3 days. I think what it was a bad joke. It was one of those where we were joking, but it just came off as bad.
Marshall's going to be sitting next to me tomorrow during the live reunion. If you could say something to him, what would you say to him?
Okay, are we going to hear it? Maybe we won't. But she's claiming that while they were filling out the marriage certificate, he said a derogatory term. Was it racist? I don't know. I wonder what she is alleging he said.
Yeah, I would just say that I take accountability for my words and actions, and I hope that he would do the same. I can take accountability for the fact that I went from 0 to 100 really quick. And I can sit here and say that I should have heard him.
Okay, that's good. That's promising. I think what she's saying is I get, at least in my words, I get triggered very quickly and I become very distressed very quickly. And I, watching the show, realize I wasn't really listening to him. And that's interesting. You can imagine that in her narrative of like, yeah, there was that one conversation where, before his family was showing up and, he was just being all pressury and saying we should leave and he was shaming me. Absolutely. I see that all the time. All of us do that. We, under stress, will see the world through a certain lens and we'll have completely distorted memories about it. And so we can imagine that. And then she sees the show and she's like, whoa. Or maybe later on realizes and thinks, wow, I should have actually listened to him. I should have took the time to listen to his words instead of assuming that I knew what he meant. I think that's what she's saying. And that's good. That's good.
Next to you, I'm dying to know, you kept the ring.
Yes, ma'am, I have the ring still.
She said, yes, ma'am. Why do you think he wanted it back? And you could be completely candid.
Marshall wanted the ring back because he wanted to propose to another castmate.
Okay, so we see Marshall's face in the picture. So what's the possibilities here? Does she have data to back that up? That seems pretty unlikely, but who knows, right? Maybe there was someone else that he didn't necessarily think, I'm going to immediately propose to this other person, but he maybe thought, well, there was another person, and maybe I'll have a Zach and Bliss thing. Maybe. I don't know. But I want that ring back so that I have that opportunity to do that. We could see that being a possibility, and that wouldn't be irrational for him to do. But for her to just flat out frame it that way, that he was basically having another relationship with someone and he was immediately going to propose to that person, at least, maybe there's data to back that up, but it doesn't seem like that was true.
Wanted to propose to another castmate.
And then they broke up 2 weeks after production stopped filming.
Yeah.
But guess who didn't?
Okay, it's possibly true, and they're saying that they were together, and maybe even they filmed it, but they didn't ultimately decide to be together, and so they dated continued to date after the production ended, I guess at the weddings, and they broke up. So I don't know. I'm going to take a guess and say that for Marshall, you could absolutely imagine for Marshall and for everyone who has a breakup on this show, feeling like, there was that other person. And we always do this, right? Or not always, but we frequently will. We will have a breakup, and often there's a person in the wings of our stage, if you will, that we will contemplate, sometimes as a way of actually helping us to break up. We will be in a relationship that isn't going well, and they'll be like, oh, remember that person I dated? They just seemed like they were everything that my current partner wasn't, that kind of thing. So we can imagine that Marshall breaks up and is like, there was that one person, but, who knows? And we did have a connection, and maybe we would be better together. So maybe I could reach out to her, and maybe the production will help with that. And, if things go well, then maybe we actually will be on the show. Or he just wanted the ring to propose off camera or something. That wouldn't be irrational. And then Jackie somehow learns about this and frames it in a very exaggerated way, as if he was thinking in the moment, give me the ring back because I'm going to immediately propose to someone else.
I'm not the type to text somebody. I'm not the type to hit them up on any social media. If I'm going to say something, I'm going to say it to your face. And so when I had gotten hit up about going to Chelsea's birthday party, I was like, heck yeah. I had been cutting a lot of weight. I had 18 pounds to cut for this competition. I had cut 12 at that time.
Okay, I think why he's mentioning this is that he was unhealthy and his brain wasn't working correctly, or his stomach was empty and he had a few drinks and it went straight to his head. As a former wrestler myself, I can attest to the extremes that we will go through to make weight. Been over it already, but in a nutshell, it's the norm. It's also boxing can have this as well. In a lower weight class, you could be a state champion, and if you just get bumped up one weight class, you could maybe not even be first string on the team. That's the difference. The 5 pounds can make a lot of difference in your muscle mass and your leverage, your height. There's, the body obviously plays a huge role in your ability to wrestle. I mean, there are other things obviously, but so making weight can make all the difference. And there's a lot of really horrific things that even I did when I was even in middle school. I mean, let's not even talk about high school, but when I was in middle school, I mean, there were horrific things that we were doing to our bodies they were fully sanctioned by parents and coaches and everybody. So I think that's what he's getting at. It doesn't excuse it. And it's not like when I was doing that, I acted like him.
And I was thinking, like, love is blind, but love is worth fighting for.
Oh. You're saying when you talk about cutting the weight, you're saying, and then you were drinking and it probably made you a little...
Right. I'm glad that the host is trying those. It's like, so what are you saying? Okay. Let's see what he says.
Yes. So
Josh, you don't drink on an empty stomach. Come on now. This is like...
now,
I'm going to take another drink because I'm going to go in, I'm going to shoot...
I also imagine that he has social anxiety. There's a few ticks in that column. In the pods, he seemingly had some kind of issues. He was quiet. He didn't tell Marshall that he was having a connection with Jackie. And I imagine going to that party, particularly if he knew he was kind of ostracized or not liked by the men, and also had been rejected by Jackie, that there'd be a lot of stress and that he would drink beforehand to go there. So that's a common social anxiety coping mechanism that can be very destructive.
My shot, it's my one chance. When you saw him, did you immediately know, oh, that's Josh?
Honestly, I didn't see him. I heard his voice first, and I just had PTSD because Josh's voice is so distinct.
I mean, that's an interesting way of putting it. I heard his voice and I had PTSD. I think what she means is I had an instant physical association. And yeah, please, people, do not start using that phrase of having an instant physical association. Like you smell a smell and it reminds you of a really particular fun summer. And you're like, oh my God, PTSD. I totally remember. Like, no, people, no.
Yeah.
And seeing him and connecting the voice with the face, it was kind of just like, wow, like
it gave you all the feels.
Exactly.
So I want to know then, as the people want to know, what's next for Jackie and Josh? Are we thinking marriage? Are we thinking...
It sounds like the interview is wrapping up. There's so many unasked questions. Maybe they edited it out?
Because there's a lot to see and there's a lot to think back on. And it's hard to watch a video, however long it was, 2-3 minutes, and talk to each point that I would like to because I can't quite recollect what happened in the video.
It's
different when I'm here talking to somebody.
I hear what you're saying.
I'm saying?
Well,
Yeah. So good for Marshall, at least so far, because he's just saying, yeah, I get it, and I have an impulse to get into it, but it's probably just best that I wish them the best. And yeah, that's certainly taking the high road. It certainly isn't very satisfying, I think, to a lot of viewers and maybe to the hosts and the production team, but it's, how does he necessarily benefit from defending himself or attacking certain points that they made? How do you win in this conversation? And the high road is like, well, there's really no point because it's not like I'm in a relationship with Jackie or Josh, so it's not like I need them to believe a certain thing. If we were in a relationship, I'd say, hey, that's not fair because we're in a relationship, but we're not. So they can believe what they believe, and I guess we'll just move on with our lives.
Since they aren't here, we'll start off. She said she never cheated on you. She broke up with you before she had the date with Josh. That was the first point she made.
Okay.
That's all you have to say about that.
It doesn't matter if it was before or a day after. It's still like you're kissing a new dude immediately after you just broke up with somebody? And I was supposed to be what?
Well, that I don't agree with that. But I think once you break up with someone, you've broken up. This idea that and people will say this like, oh my God, she kissed him like the day after she broke up with him. Like, what's the idea here that there's some sort of grace period that you're supposed to have? And how long is that? What's the period of time? A week, a month, a year? And then as soon as you cross that threshold, then suddenly now you can actually, no. If once you break up, you're broken up. You're single. You're done. Now, you don't want to rub it in someone's face, right? You don't want to post it on social media. You don't want to do it right in front of them necessarily because you want to have empathy for the person that you broke up with. But you're broken up. So it's over, and you can kiss whoever you want to kiss at that point. So I don't agree with that. But I do think he's also saying, look, it doesn't really matter because she still broke up with me. And if she cheated on me, so to speak, beforehand, she ultimately broke up with me. So that's the main issue. And the things that she's been saying and the things that she said, that's the hurt that I feel, not necessarily that she met up with him just before she broke up with me. I think that's what he's saying.
I think what we all have to realize is that that's just the normal ebb and flow of a relationship. And there's going to be tough times and there's going to be great times.
So you would have made it all the way to the altar?
Absolutely.
Really?
I mean, I said it to her in Mexico. I've run away from stuff before. And in this moment, I was not running away.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's hard to, I mean, each to their own. If I were his friend, though, I would say, are you sure that, before they broke up? Because say that Jackie never broke up and in her heart was on the fence, but was still like, yeah, maybe I'll go with Marshall or whatever she said. Let's just imagine in that alternate universe. I think I would say to Marshall, maybe you should give this some more time because there's some pretty significant issues right off the bat. And unless they had somehow resolved it by the time they got to the altar, which doesn't seem likely. So, but he's free to make his choice. And of course, maybe there was a lot of other indicators that showed him that it was a wise choice. But it almost seems like what he's saying is, I am overcompensating by always being overcommitted to people because in the past I said no, or I avoided, or I passed up on, I don't know. He's not saying that, but he's saying in the past, I learned from my past, and once I commit regardless of what's happening. I think that's what he's saying, which, I don't think that's very advisable, especially if she had said yes. I mean, he's still saying, yeah, if she had said yes, I would have said yes. Now, there's another possibility that he's just really trying to emphasize that he was all in it, and he was willing to work on it, and he saw potential, as he says. And if we just look outside of the overfunction or underfunction or dynamic, yeah, he just believed. He had optimism that, hey, you know what? The problems that we had, they were all fixable. They were problems, but I was committed, and so you can't avoid those kinds of issues, and I was willing to work on it. I think that's also what he's saying.
So looking back, you don't think that you guys splitting was for the best? You think that you could have figured it out and had a successful marriage had you gone to the...
Well, that's a twofold question. Making it to the altar. I think that making it to the altar is the precipice of this entire experiment, and that was taken from me. being able to have a decision in that moment.
Okay. I don't know what he's saying there. A good question from the host. And he's saying that going to the, what? I don't understand. What did you want to happen? If you're saying that you would have said yes, are you saying that you wished you could have gone to the altar so you could have said no? Did he just want to stay in the show longer? I mean, he doesn't seem like that sort of person. It seems like you would want to know earlier the better. I don't understand. What do you think he's saying?
Making it to the altar. I think that making it to the altar is the precipice of this entire experiment, and that was taken from me. Being able to have a decision in that moment, I feel like I wasn't able to have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really don't understand what he's saying. I'll take his word for it, and I'll just say that I'm just ignorant to the basis for what he's saying. He's a smart guy, so I'm guessing there's a lot of smart stuff there that I don't get. But the way it sounds to me, he's like, I would have rather have, well, no, I think what he's saying is I would have rather have her actually try to work on the relationship longer. That's my hope. Is that what he's saying? Is that he's saying he wished, because he did say that when she was breaking up with him, and he was kind of indicating that he was hoping that someone would work, that someone would try and extend themselves and believe. I think that's maybe what he's saying.
And I don't know what I would have said. There was no, will you say I do?
So you don't know what you would have said, but you do know you would have made it to that point.
Yeah, and I would have given it a lot of thought.
Okay.
So another thing she mentioned in that video is, to refresh your memory,
Thank you.
is that there was a derogatory comment that was made.
This is another good host technique, that he was saying there's a lot there and there's so much to unpack. I don't know what to do, so I'll just wish them well. And the host, and because as a therapist, I will do this in couple therapy, family therapy, even individual therapy, to throw it out there and be like, okay, well, let's break it down one point at a time. And so she's breaking it one point at a time. He could have also said, well, I don't want to get into that. And then you're like, oh, okay. So he's not just saying there was a lot of points there. And I wish I could say he's saying there's a lot of points there and I don't want to get into it. But she's actually laying out the points, and he is actually given a chance to respond. All right, well, let's adjourn there. Tune in next time when I continue watching. And everyone, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.